The Sourin Air. The Sourin Air was sent to me for review from buybest.com, and this is a beautiful pod device that's just flat and fits nicely just about anywhere. So let's talk about it. First, the specs. It has a 400 milliamp hour rechargeable battery, a 2mm cartridge. It's 86 millimeters tall, 43 millimeters long, and 8 millimeters wide. It has 16 watts, has an on-off switch, a micro USB, and it comes in the colors of gunmetal, rose gold, black, silver, gold, red, green, and blue. In the box you get the Sourin Air, a 2mm cartridge, a USB cable, and a user manual. So before we go any further, I want to point out that there are two versions of the Sourin Air, but Sourin never branded the V2 as a new version. The original came out in early 2017, so at this point, if you buy one, you'll probably get the V2, which is what this is, since most of the early models are probably off the shelves by now. But to be sure, here are the differences. The V1 pod has a black plug, and the V2 has a red plug. The V1 says manufactured by Foxconn, and the V2 says manufactured by Bluemark. And people say that the V2 has a much more restricted airflow. There are other slight differences, but from what I've read, those are the biggest telltale signs. Mainly, it seems like Sourin just made some improvements to the original device. For example, people say that the pods with the V2 are much less likely to have a dry hit. All right, let's talk about design and size. So right out of the box, this just looks really sleek. It's a really nice looking device. Sourin describes it as a credit card sized vape, and I can see the comparison. It's actually smaller than a credit card, but of course it's thicker. It's probably about the width of 3 or 4 credit cards. But it's pretty flat, which is awesome because it just slides right into my pocket and I barely even notice it. It's about 3.5 inches tall, a little less than 2 inches wide, and a 1/4 inch thick. The pods cost about $5 each, and they hold 2 mils of e-juice. They're designed to be used with all types of e-juice and consistencies. With devices like this though, high VG e-juices will be more likely to have a dry hit, and very high PG are more likely to leak. And they actually do have a card that comes with the device that tells you that the best ratio they recommend is 70-30, so 70 VG, 30 PG, but not lower than 60 VG, 40 PG, or otherwise it could leak. And to fill these pods up, you just pull out the plug and that's it, fill it up. The fill hole is nice and big, so it's easy to fill too, and the plug is pretty long, so it also holds really tight and is easy to fit in place. The pods fit very tightly into the device, and there's no worry of it falling out of place, so I like that. The battery is a 400 milliamp hour battery, so it's a little small for a pod vape of this size, but I found that the charge still lasts quite a while. It lasts longer than a day of good use for me anyway. To charge it, just plug in the micro USB and you're good. It charges really fast in about 30 minutes, so that's a big plus. There's also an LED light on the bottom of the device that lights up when you fire it. Blue indicates a higher power level, and it turns red when the charge is low. The Sourin Air is draw activated, so just take a hit and it turns on. There's also an on-off switch, which is very unique for a pod device. I really like this feature because it prevents any concerns of auto-firing, which is a reoccurring problem with other pod vapes on the market. So it's very cool that they added that. The airflow is a little airy, but I've heard that there seems to be a quality control issue with the pods. Sometimes they're really restricted and sometimes they're really airy. The device only comes with one pod, and the one that I got is airy, so that's all I know. If you get a tight pod, I've read that you can pop off the airflow section on the bottom of the pods. Anyway, on this pod, it's really not designed for mouth-to-lung vaping. It really works best for restricted lung draws. The flavor from the pods is pretty good. It's as good as any of the other good pod vapes these days, most of which are really good, and much better than the Juul, in case you're wondering, as far as flavor goes. Holding and using the Sourin Air is very comfortable. It's small and fits nice in the hand. The only complaint that I have here is that at first, taking a hit from the corner of the device feels a little awkward. I got used to it over time, but it is a little strange. I've also found it hard to find the right side of the pod to take a hit from. A bunch of times I've tried taking a hit from the closed side of the pod, especially in darker rooms. Okay, so that's it for the Sourin Air. This is actually a very nice device. It looks awesome, and I love the tiny size. It has good flavor, and it hits very well. I also love that it has an on-off switch, and even though the battery is small, it lasts for a long time. The main thing to consider before buying it is that the airflow is airy, so it's designed more for restricted lung draws. So if you're interested, buybest.com sells the Sourin Air for about $20.50. All right, that's it. Thanks for checking out this review, and I'll catch you on the next one.